Hello and welcome to Conkers Corner. Today I have the privilege of speaking with Jim Mellon, the serial entrepreneur and the owner of the Master Investor Show. Hello Jim and welcome to
Hi,
Conkers
Peter.
Corner. It's a privilege to speak with you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Now Jim, on Conkers Corner I tend to interview lots of entrepreneurs, fund managers, etc. And now I feel absolutely honoured that I'm speaking with the number one investor in the UK. So I want you to share with me your investing journey, some of your major investments that you've made, and also to talk about the Master Investor Show and what's going on with yourselves.
Well, thank you, Peter. First of all, let's talk about Master Investor.
Yep.
Okay. My view is that there's insufficient information for investors to make good decisions on their investments. So people like Share Talk and yourself are doing a very valuable service, if you don't mind me, and I'm going to award you one of these, which is the Order of the Melon, when I can get my supplies of them, because you deserve it.
Thank you.
It's really important for people to be able to make informed decisions, and there's too much rubbish out there in terms of schemes and so forth that are inappropriate for investors. And bearing in mind that people work very hard to get their money, most of them don't have that much money, and we all need a plentiful supply of money in our retirement, which is going to be for many more years than expected in the future. So I think Master Investor and what Share Talk do is vital for investor information. It's almost like educational philanthropy, basically.
Absolutely agree.
And so in my own situation, I left university without really knowing what I wanted to do, like most people. All right, I did a philosophy, politics and economics degree, which is the sort of thing that politicians do, but I've got no interest in politics. PPE. And I got a few jobs. It was boom times when I left university, and I could have worked at Clark's Shoes, or I could have worked in an advertising company or at a stockbroking firm, but as it happened, the only job that offered me a position overseas was a fund management business. So I got thrown into fund management by luck. And when you're in a job, you want to impress your bosses, so you work harder and you make the most of the opportunities. And my boss was very generous with his time and his advice, and took me on lots of trips. And so I got an education that most people would never ever have got, at least at that time. And I saw a lot of the world, actually. I was sent to San Francisco after Hong Kong, and ever since then I've always lived outside the UK. Right? So, but after a while, you get a little bit bored of managing other people's money, and you start thinking about how you can manage your own money, both for your own benefit and possibly the benefit of things that you're interested in that are outside of your own firmament. And in a way, this Master Investor, which is designed as a profitable business but doesn't make any profit, is a kind of, as I said, educational philanthropy project of ours, and we are so delighted that it's become the biggest show in the UK, and the people of your caliber and others have come along and are making it happen, basically. So I've had a very varied experience in investment. I've been up and down and up and down, and but generally I've navigated, because I do think there are three important things for everyone to consider as individuals, forget about as investors. One is curiosity. If you're not interested in the world, you're never going to get anywhere, all right? So keep an open mind. Second is adaptability. We live in a world that's so fast changing that children today are expected to have at least 14 careers before they retire. Different, they may be in the same company, but they'll be different. You're not going to sit like Dad did as an accountant or a doctor or a line manager in a factory. That's all gone. There's not a job from 18 to 65, get your gold watch and go.
Absolutely transient,
Absolutely transient. And the last thing is application, which is the most important thing, because unless you're lucky to inherit a lot of money, or you win the national lottery, you're going to have to work. There is no easy way to riches, no easy way to a comfortable existence. And also, it's nice working. It's good if you get the satisfaction of doing something great. So those three things, curiosity, adaptability, and application, are my mantra. And I repeat it so often that my friends and relatives get really pissed off about it, but I really believe in it. And I think it applies to every single investment opportunity. And one of the things that's going on here is that companies are coming and they're talking to individuals. So I encourage people at the Master Investor Show to go and talk to the companies, get a sense of the management, get a sense of what they're doing, get a sense of their dynamics, and then judge whether you want to invest in it.
Absolutely agree.
So that's what we're doing here, really. So we're complementing what you do, which is to provide a forum, a network, basically, and an educational platform, and we're the kind of annual jamboree for all the people who believe in collaborative investment.
So I love that, Jim. But the thing I want to ask as well is that you're now stepping into Europe with Master Investor with CBIT, and what you've just done recently as a joint venture to try and
Yeah,
take
well,
things
I
up in
mean,
Europe.
Sven
So
is
that's
German,
brilliant.
and obviously his number one gravitational force, even though he denies he's got any interest in Germany, is to go back there. And so he's done Siebert, and I believe Deutsche Börse is another partner of ours. And I think that's great, because let's spread it across Europe.
Absolutely.
You know, they do it in America. They do it very, very well in America. Why can't we do it well here in the UK and in Europe? Let's do it.
Yeah, great. One of the things I wanted to ask you is a very famous story that I read about when you invested and you got a little inkling that something was going on in Russia and coupons were being given to certain people, and you and a colleague went over to Vladivostok and started, and you made a little bit of investment, walking around the markets with security guards. Could you want to expand on that story for me?
I will.
It's a fantastic story.
And well remembered, because, I mean, in some ways I don't want to remember it, because we started off in Vladivostok. I'd heard that there was going to be, and this is why information is so important. The collaborative exchange of information is so important. You know, we only live one life. It's not a zero-sum game. If I give you information, I'm not expecting anything back, but I know in due course you'll give me some information. So that's the way it should be. Let's not get possessive about what we know. Anyway, I heard that Russia was having a privatization. It was 1994. And so Jane Sutcliffe and myself went to Vladivostok, which is the nearest place to Hong Kong, where our business was. And but there was nothing going on in Vladivostok, and except that I was nearly killed that night in my hotel room.
Put the chair next to the door.
I did.
Yes.
And I had $10,000 in cash. There were no credit cards in 1994. No credit cards in Russia. Can you believe it? So we had to bring money in to pay the hotels, etc. And the next week there was a New Zealand guy who was killed in the same hotel. All right, for $100,000 he brought in, because you have to declare the money at the customs, and then they know. Right, so so all night these people were trying to get into my room. And so Jane and I next morning said, okay, we're off to Moscow. We went to Moscow, and we had $2 million in savings, or cash in the business. And we put it into Russian privatization vouchers. Everyone in Russia over the age of 18 got one of these vouchers, and most of them traded it for a bottle of vodka. And we swapped ours for shares in whatever we thought was a good Russian stock to back. And to this day, we still own the duty-free shops in Moscow, but which we will never get back. They're owned by the mafia. We own the Kalashnikov gun factory, which we're never going to get back either, because it's mafia-controlled. But we did buy oil and gas companies, and the 2 million became 17 million 6 weeks later, and we set up a Russian business. And Charlemagne Capital was the company that came out of that, which has just been sold. And Region Pacific, which was the original company, is still going, and now owns the world's only cure for premature ejaculation, which is on display here today, which is looking very promising indeed, so to speak, for those of none of us, obviously, require that particularly. No, well, I mean, you and I are not. We don't require that, but there is a big market for it. So it's a kind of complicated, convoluted story. But you know, this is the thing about adaptability. So since then, I've been in mining, property, I'm still in them. I'm biotech, and now I'm in the longevity stuff. And I'm super excited about, first of all, longevity is something that, you know, we're all hoping to as long as possible. And I don't think there's many people on the planet, if you say you can live another 10 years if you buy this drug or that drug, who are not going to do it. And it's possible now to create those sort of products. And I'm super excited about that, as you probably heard in my speech today.
Yes, I did,
And, but I think, you know, let's just keep changing tack. Let's not close our minds to opportunity, and that's what I do.
Grow and adapt. So fast forward, and now your recent book.
Juvenescence is not out yet, end of May.
So the next book, do you want to just share a little bit about what
fast forward,
find in that book?
Yeah, well, Juvenescence is, I've just done a trip around the US to meet the key opinion leaders in the anti-aging space. Right now, 10, 20 years ago, there was no hope. Everyone was going to die. It just depended when and in what condition. All right. Today, there are real things that can happen by the manipulation of our DNA, our cells, and our genes to prolong human life. And I mean real things. These are demonstrable things. They're not out in the market yet. And it'll take some time, because the authorities don't believe that aging is a disease. They regard it as just part of life, a condition. But as soon as aging is regarded as a disease, and by the way, all the main diseases that people die from, which are cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and neurodegenerative disease, including Alzheimer's, are the result of aging typically. They're all closely interlinked. There's no program that says you have to die or I have to die. They are getting closer and closer to the point where they are going to be able to do something about it. And you probably read that my friend now, David Sinclair, who's the professor of genetics at Harvard, who I just went and visited, was in the newspaper yesterday or the day before winning the NASA prize because he's got this compound which regenerates cells, and they're using it for the astronauts to go to Mars. Because if you go to Mars and back, the radiation effect, cosmic radiation, is going to age you very, very rapidly. So they're going to all be taking this stuff. We are the first cohort on the planet ever to have this opportunity. If we'd been born in 1900 or 1800 or 1400 or 1000, there wouldn't, we could talk about, I could give you a potion, but it's not going to do anything.
Yes.
We can now do something about it. This is going to be the biggest industry on the planet, and I want to be a part of it. Absolutely. All right, and we have the opportunity of being a part of it. So Juvenescence is the book.
Yes.
I'm not doing it to make money. No one makes money out of books, as you probably know, unless you're J.K. Rowling. But I want to spread the word.
Yes.
And if you help me spread the word, I'll be very delighted.
I'll be absolutely doing that, Jim.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Right, I've got one last question, Jim. Sure. And this is the main question that most of my Share Talk listeners and the global listeners ask with regards to investing. So, in principle, when you are looking at a stock or a sector, how do you filter down all of your research to say, I'm going to invest some of my wealth into that company or that sector?
Well, that's a very good question. And of course, like everyone, I've made tremendous amounts of mistakes. And most of those mistakes have come from two critical errors. One is impulse, all right? Oh, I like the idea of that. I'll buy that one. It's got to be good. Without regard to valuation, to the management, to the genuine market prospects, the disruptors who might be coming up behind that company. And the second principal mistake that I've made is I've fallen in love with companies, all right? Which is a big, big mistake, and it's a human nature thing. I really like that. I put my name behind that, therefore I'm going to back it until the day it goes bust, basically, all right?
Yeah.
If we can try and temper down those mistakes, if we can try and mitigate those, we can never eliminate them, then we've got a much better chance of getting there. But in terms of what you should be looking for, meet the management, or at least look at them on YouTube or wherever else they appear. And you guys are great for that, all right?
Thank you.
The second thing is to have some understanding of valuation. If they're selling at 100 times PE ratio and they're the greatest company in the world, it may not be the right thing to do.
Or the wrong time.
Or the wrong time to do it. Don't get caught up in a crowd mentality, all right? Just because everyone else is doing it is the wrong time for you to be doing it, basically. And look at whether these companies can return money to you. Can you get a dividend out of them? Can you get a return of capital through a share buyback or a distribution of some sort? So do more homework. But the shows like this one, and I don't think there's another show like this, to be quite honest, in the UK, where people are really trying to engage with the audience in a positive way, are very, very useful. So mark it in your calendar, because I can tell you next year it will be very hard to get into this show. I'm sure it'll be completely packed out. And all down to you, Sven, and all the people who promote it, basically.
Okay. Thank you ever so much, Jim.
Thank you very much. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.